Rachel's story is one of constant transitions, from college student to military spouse, mother of 5, student again, entrepreneur, educator, author, and speaker. She's here to share what helped her move through those many, many transitions, what challenged her most, and what she wants listeners to remember when they're facing change of their own. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to hear about all the transitions you've been through.
Well, thank you, Karen. It's been wonderful getting to know you, and I'm just so appreciative of all that you do for women who get to sit on your podcast.
Thank you, thank you. So let's talk about some of these these transitions. They've been not only career shifts, but you were a military spouse, so of course we know there's a lot of moves that come with that, and motherhood, and you had quite a few children in there. So let's talk about, when we look back at those transitions, what seems to be most significant for you? Which transition really stands out?
Well, it's hard to put a superlative on all those transitions, but I think one of the most important and impactful that is lasting throughout life is motherhood. Marriage and motherhood. You're always going to be a mom when you're a mom.
Right.
You might be a grandma, but that is probably the most impactful because it really does change your life and how you identify yourself. But then getting that foundation of raising your children and building that family, that sets you up for the future identities that you will have, and different hats that you will wear.
And so that changing identities, let's talk about that. So you were a college student and then got married and became a military spouse. So not just a spouse, but for those of us who grew up in the military, we know that there is a different identity. There's sometimes different sets of rules, different standards. What did that look like for you as a young woman, leaving family and becoming a spouse and a spouse in the military?
Yes, well, I married my college sweetheart, who at the time was ROTC commissioned, and we knew that we were going to have 4 years as an active duty family. I had no idea what that really meant, and I didn't really know the particular space that he wanted to go into was the special operations area, which I didn't exactly understand as well. But for me, it was an exciting time. It was a time to get out of Missouri. Not that there's anything wrong with Missouri because we're here and retired, but to see the world from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And it was us adventuring and going out on our own, doing our thing. And so that was fun and intriguing.
So you looked at that as an exciting challenge versus a woe is me, I have to leave home.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Our first year of marriage, he had to go through months of schooling. So I stayed in St. Louis. I had a job at Mizzou as a recruiter in the Kansas City territory. So I had a very nice established job that I loved and a paycheck. So we were separated for our first year.
Oh, that's challenging.
That wasn't fun. That was a little unexpected. So we were really just plotting and planning for when we could finally get back together. And we ended up starting the first year of our marriage in North Carolina.
Okay, that is far away. That's definitely far away. So you were dealing with that transition, and then shortly thereafter you got pregnant, right? Or a little bit after there, started becoming a mom.
Yes, our first assignment, I worked there as well, and we became pregnant, which is normal, I think, at that time in that stage of life. And that transition was great. I think at that point I let go of the career-based person that I was going to be. I had thought I would go back to work. Then I realized it's really tough when you're on your own, you don't have family around, finding childcare and all of that. Plus, I also fell in love with being a mom at that time. So it was that torn decision, what do we do next? Is it worth it? Decided I was not going to go back to the Special Operations Museum Foundation, which was where I was working, a nonprofit. And then I decided to go to UNC. I was going to get my master's, which was on my bucket list of things to do.
So you decided not to work, but to go back to school while still being a mother and raising your family.
Yes. And that was my next goal. And then my husband said, I'm not sure you want to do that because we're probably going to move in a few months.
Oh, gosh.
And so
Another transition.
I said, okay, really? And then I realized, and I just took a moment to sit back, and I'm like, I'm going to relax. This time of my life isn't about me setting my goals for Rachel. These are about goals setting for our collective family and also what the Army is going to tell us to do.
Right.
So
sometimes it's really a matter of just surrendering
Yes.
to your universe.
Totally.
And where you have, regardless of what the transition is, because so often we can initiate the transition and other times the transition is put upon us when the military tells you or your employer tells you it's time to move.
Yep.
But then to just sometimes, I love your advice of just take a breath, take a beat, and
take a moment,
kind of surrender and refocus. Is this all about me, or is this about the greater good for the family, for the country? What is this about?
I was very faith-based at that point too, very strong in my faith in what I was supposed to be doing next, because if I feel like if I'm not aligned with what I am supposed to be doing, it's not going to go down the path. You can't will something to go in a certain direction if it's not meant to be.
Okay.
And I felt very firm in following that next step and where we were going to land, and deciding I hadn't been to Washington State before, and that would be a new adventure.
And you were coming from North Carolina.
Yes.
So across the country.
One side to the
wave
other.
To family as you went over St. Louis.
Exactly. And we hit, I think at that time, it was the most rain that they'd had in 100 years.
Oh my goodness.
It's like 111 solid days of rain. And I thought, where did you bring me to?
Well,
but we
and
loved it.
Here we just talked about having 10 minutes of sunshine every day.
I know.
And you didn't have any for 4 months?
No, you did not.
Gosh, it's depressing. And horrible for the kids not to get out and play and all that.
You still get out and play.
Okay.
You have raincoats and
there you go.
Puddles, and you still get out there.
So another theme of you making the best of the situation.
Yeah.
4 months of rain, you still get out and play.
Get out every day. The most important thing, even when it's cloudy, is to get outside. You know I'm a big outside person.
Yeah, right.
Adventure, get outside, get your morning sun. So getting outside really just helps with that mental mindset. And then just, I'm a nature person. I love to see, it's a beautiful country in Washington. So there were beautiful landscapes and fun things to do that I'd not experienced before, and I got to experience those with my new family.
Right. Well, great attitude. And then tell us about you getting involved in the military and kind of taking a leadership role. I love that you've just taken your natural gifts and just applied those. And as you said, I fell in love with motherhood because that's just a natural gift for you, and you went down that path. And then being a leader in the military. Tell us about that.
Yes, you're having me reflect back on being in college and spinning different tops or plates, and I kept wondering, I do this and I'm doing that, have this interest, how is this going to serve me later? And so when I became a mother and a military spouse and then moving to all these new locations, I had to try new things and spin multiple plates, which I enjoyed.
Right.
It was a new experience, new beginnings. I really enjoyed. So on a military base, they actually give opportunities for spouses to get involved because they want you to thrive, right? So you can either have a foot in that space and walk in that way, or you can choose not to. It's okay, either way. But for me, I saw leadership potential opportunities and was mentored into opportunities. And I said, why not? I can do these things service-related for my country, for my husband, for the well-being of my family, and to help me sharpen some gifts or create new gifts possibly. Right. And so it was a value-added opportunity. I think the first volunteer thing I did once we moved to Washington State was write the newsletter for the company.
Oh, wow.
So,
and how did you know what you were writing about or what you were supposed to do? Did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody older than you who was showing you what to do?
Yeah, there were a couple spouses that, and I had been a writer before, so I'd already written for a couple newspapers, so I knew what to do, the mechanics of how to do it. It was about writing about what. So I had to interview different people and get the information. So really it's, it's got a column, you got a title, very similar, you got some pictures. It's just different topics. So I had interview other people, and some of it was for spouses too, so it was easy to
Right,
soldiers
what would
and
I
spouses.
want to know about? What do I need to know?
Yeah.
But what a great way to pour yourself into the community and find a way to fit as quickly as possible. You also had mentioned, when you and I were talking in preparation for this, that when you went from one base to another, you would have a friend help connect you with a new friend.
Yes.
Tell us about how that
I would
worked.
say one of the greatest assets of the military are the spouses that choose to be a mentor, choose to lead, because I think it's all one fight. Everyone feels like a team player. And so there were women older than me that reached down and said, these are opportunities, and it would guide you. One of the protocols, I would say, for moving was reaching back into your community and saying, I am now leaving this unit. I'm leaving Washington State, and we are going to Kansas, or we're going to Georgia. Does anybody know anybody in Georgia or Kansas that I can call?
The entire state.
I need some recommendations. And luckily, usually military is circular, so you'll have had somebody who maybe just moved from there, or has a recommendation, or has a friend that just moved there who's already done the homework on the school system and the grocery store, hairdresser, all of the things you need, the basics to start your life.
Yeah, you don't even think, the vet. I mean, starting.
You lose your vet, you
everything.
lose your hairdresser, you lose all the things, and you have to start over. So you get recommendations from your friends, and it's nice to say, and it's actually an honor when you have a really good friend who's located somewhere and say, oh, I know this person, you should connect with Ellie, or you should connect with Jen, and you should do all of these different opportunities with the different women, and then they willingly pick up the phone and they give you the best nuggets they can because they want you to be successful.
So again, another tool in helping that transition run smoothly. Your peer group helps set you up for success by giving you those connections, and and you taking advantage of them. Somebody can tell you to call this person all day long, but unless you put that into action and actually pick up the phone and plan a cup of coffee or a play date, it doesn't happen.
And sometimes that's hard because when you just find out you're transitioning, sometimes people aren't gung-ho.
Yeah.
Right? They're not ready to mentally start thinking about that next assignment. But the quicker you do that, the better your family is, because there are things like school deadlines and applications. So the quicker, for me, I was always wanting to do that immediately because I was finding out information about the next school district, whether it was preschool, and lots of waiting lists to get into some of these programs. So you got to apply
think
quickly.
of all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, talk about spinning all these, plates at the same time, but to think about what it's like to completely set up your life again in a very short period of time, because as you said, you want to do it as quickly as possible to keep things as smooth for the family. And by the way, you don't have help from your husband most of the time because they're at school or deployed
Training
or
deployed
doing their job.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot for one person to handle. How did your kids do through all these transitions?
To be honest, I thought they were rock stars. To be really honest.
Because her mom's a rock star.
Well, thank you. It's again mindset, because I didn't take it for granted. I took Bible studies and things about parenting. I did not take it for granted that these 5 little lives were mine to lead through life.
Right.
And when I decided I wasn't going to be a professional or do all these other things, I said, if I'm going to be an Army spouse, I'm going to be a pretty damn good one, at least to the best of my ability. Right?
Wow.
So it's learn, read, get your mentors in line, and then turn around and help others, right? So it's not just about me, but it's also what can I pass on to others to help them through the situation. Because again, there's the whole one team concept. A good portion of my husband's 20 years was the global war on terrorism. September 11th happened, he took command, and we spent a long time with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you think about one team, you're helping people in your husband's unit, you're helping the spouse, which makes the soldier happy because his wife's going to be okay. So it's a very family team related perspective, and you know that you can make a difference just one person at a time.
Which is amazing. Do you find that now that you're retired in, as our family calls it, the civilian world, that you still can see that one unit mentality, or is that really unique to the military and you're finding that you kind of have to share that with your girlfriends?
I think if I reverse that question on you, you'd answer it the same. And there is a difference.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference because, like we were sharing, many times there aren't lives at risk. Right? And so some of the turmoil or situations might not be as stressful.
Right.
So people might not need to get mentorship from you, right? They may not need your advice or even want to be friends, right? But I do feel, especially with this dive into COVID, there has been a resurgence in need for mentorship and relationships because everyone went to kind of a dark side, being alone, change and disruption. Right. For me, I expected my family just to skip past it because we've been through so many things. But we struggled a little bit too. There were some hardships and, reinsertion back into communities and schools and things like that. So there's no greater time now for not just people in Missouri, but in the United States and globally to be there for each other, to connect.
Right. Well, and because I think all these things, these transitions, these changes that happen to all of us and will always happen, there's only so much we can do to prepare. I mean, nobody could prepare for COVID. We had no idea that it even existed. But now that we do, now we know next time, if there is a next time, or if there is a 9/11 again, how do you prepare for these types of transitions? And I think a lot of the ones that you went through, like you said, you either knew they were coming or at some point they were coming, or when your husband walked in the door and told you it was coming. But then you rely on your resilience, you rely on your leadership skills, you rely on your peer group, on your friends to say, okay, I got to get through this. And now we've got COVID and everybody says, this is new, we don't know how to do this. But again, to go back and rely on your peer group, rely on your strengths, your leadership, your parenting, your teaching, all of those things help us get through COVID. They help us get through a death in the family. They help us get through a career change. And I do think that people underestimate the value of having a mentor and having that mentor in your life all along the way, so that when something happens, you pull those little nuggets in. I know my dad certainly has been one of my many great mentors in my life, and I know what he learned in the military and the expectation that he has for himself and for me has certainly shaped who I am, and certainly shaped my work ethic and my discipline and my expectations of myself. Those mentors really shape you at such an early age. And I know that you had a very important mentor early on.
Yes.
Tell us about him.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many mentors in life, and you don't really understand how people show up for you until you reflect, right? And so I would say one of my great mentors that really gave me advice and courage that was sustaining, that not only helped me, but also helped my children, was my high school track coach. And he just had a love for education, he was mentoring. He was also a very positive mindset person. He put together a packet for all of his athletes on their stats for the week, gave us quotes tailored to us.
Oh, like what kind of quotes?
Well, it could be scripture. It could be a quote that he thought would motivate us, like just do it from Nike or something. He pulled from all over. And that was some of my first opportunities to witness that kind of Christian thought process to help others through service. And
somebody who went the extra mile over and above to do something. I mean, when you first say that, I think, wow, what a lot of extra work, that he put in that he didn't need to.
Yeah, he really cared and was extremely passionate about our individual gifts and being successful.
Wow.
And I thought it was just going above and beyond, because, you can sit in the classroom and be academically focused, which is great. But to be, I feel we are, as people, we're physical and mental, and I'm a better mental person when I can be physical.
Right. And
so that idea that he would see me in the hallway and say, hey, your splits yesterday weren't as great as they were this time last week. You're having a bad day. Did you get good sleep? So he would ask questions. Are you eating?
Sure.
Did you eat lunch today? You have a really important meet this weekend. Make sure you're not going out. Little things like that, just to help me realize how we take care of our bodies has a direct relationship to how we perform. And I knew that, and I cared about nutrition as a kid, but, in high school I realized even more that you are what you eat, and it's very important to get sleep, eat healthy, and be focused on your goals. And if you're not focused on your goals, you're not going to reach them.
Right.
But if you don't know what your goals are, or you don't even know how you're accelerating through your goals, then you really don't know how to check your milestones, and if you're getting on that road to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's all planning. What steps do I need to be doing? Sometimes not even realizing that it's a step to get you closer to that milestone.
Yeah, he was very motivational, very positive. He held you accountable. And I think that was a training, really got me to state 2 or 3 times, which was one of our goals, is to get our team to state, which was a great thing to say I was able to do in high school. And then nurtured a love for running that sustained beyond high school. And once I realized I stopped running, I ran cross country too. And I played sports all 4 seasons. So I played softball, net baseball, track, cross country, and then indoor soccer. And being physical for me is sort of a way of life. And I realized that for others, that's how you relieve your stress. A lot of people relieve their stress that way. And going to high school, going to college then, I still ran. And then beyond,
I still needed
that. I could tell if a couple days went by and I hadn't gone for a run, then maybe I was a little stressed or maybe even grumpy. So, and then I set some goals. A couple of my bucket lists, I have a very large bucket list. So the master's program I didn't finish went into a bucket list. Okay, so I have in the bucket list, I had run a half marathon, run a marathon, be so dedicated to running that I would run several races. And over the course of time, of course, having children put a pause in that.
Okay, but it still was on the list.
But eventually it was on the list, and ended up getting my husband to run a couple half marathons with me, and then we ran a full marathon.
You did?
We ran all of that was in Washington, D.C., so we ran the Marine Corps
Now, is
Marathon.
that something that you just do once and then you say, okay, I'm good, I checked that off my list? Or
in that particular situation, yes, because I had some leg injuries. So the marathon was probably a one and done. But there's been a few half after. Yeah. And then my kids are now all runners. So when I was able to meet up with I actually accidentally ran into my high school track coach when we transitioned back.
Really?
And
how long had it been since you saw him?
Oh, over 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Over 30 years. But he looked the same. And
he
sounded the same. He sounded the same, and he said my name, and I turned around and I thought I was in a room with a family member.
Wow.
And
like going home again.
It was like going home again, took me back to being a high school student. And I realized everything flooded how he had been there all this time.
Always in the back of your mind.
Always in the back of my mind, encouraging my own kids, being inspirational for my own kids, and then now they are runners as well. So
he paid it forward.
He paid it forward, and I paid it forward.
Right.
But I think the most significant thing here is the power of one person, right?
Right.
I don't think he thought he was special. I think he was just doing his job. He was trying to make a difference. And I think when we get passionate, I think being passionate is extremely important, because that's at the crux of where we start to help others. And we don't know it because we're so in love with our passion.
But what about people who don't know what their passion is? How do they find their passion? Or is it just patience? Or maybe they're not even paying attention or looking. I don't know.
I love to be passionate, or I wax and wane. I'm not that interested. So I have to identify what that is. And I don't know what the secret sauce is on that.
Yeah.
I think it's through experimenting, right?
That's
try
a good idea.
different things.
Right.
If you're not able to try different things, how do you know what you're passionate about? I did have a rule in our family. All of our kids had to play the piano. There were different rules. They all had to try different things, different sports. They tried everything, like a buffet.
Right.
And if you didn't like the green beans, don't eat them, right? Or if you didn't like lacrosse, don't play it. But, here are the things. Try these things and you will find your passion, or multiple passions.
Well, and also through trying different things, you meet different people. And that's where your next mentor could come from.
Exactly.
That's where your next, wide open experience could come from that you never even realized existed.
Exactly. And I think people are passion. You can find relationships with new people, and I'm excited about our new friendship. I'm really passionate about our friendship too, because people will open the door for other opportunities, and then you can go hand in hand through that door with them, or pass them through another door that you're not going to go through. But that's one thing I have found out in St. Louis. I've had a lot of new friendships that have been really nice, and doors opening. It's not exactly like the mentoring relationships of military spouses, because we're not going to war, but it's still impactful and significant, which has had a nice, it's just had a nice path for my future and my being an entrepreneur.
Well, and I've found in St. Louis there is such a supportive community. The women are very supportive. Men are supportive as well.
Exactly.
And I think women are really latching onto that and using it to further their entrepreneurship or education or authorship, whatever path they're choosing. So let's move into that phase of your life. So when did you start branching out into more entrepreneurship? Was it after the kiddos were a little bit older and kind of moved on, didn't quite need you at home as much, or?
Yes and no. The official LLC didn't happen until 2023, but I had a lot of little businesses as a military spouse.
Okay.
So that's another podcast. But there were little things that I did along the way. I really enjoy being innovative, and I like to solve problems.
Okay. And how do you apply that now?
So for me, with Team of Seven, which is the consulting company that I own, we go in and we help with strategy on business development, marketing, event solutions, and workforce development. So in the workforce development, it could be recruiting, hiring, career advancement, resume reviews, mentoring.
Yeah. And your passion is what of that? Is it solving the problem? Is it the mentoring? Where did you take your passion and apply that to have it grow into this business?
Passion comes from also some of the experiences and knowing I can solve some hard problems, and I love to connect. So in business development, sales, and marketing, I'm usually collaborating and connecting. I like to work within ecosystems, and that's really exciting to me, to bring people together, whether or not that's finding the one recruit, the yellow zebra that they needed to solve these problems. Some of the companies that I work for, they are Department of Defense, and they work under top secret organizations. And so if I'm able to help them elevate their brand, find business, bring in the right qualified applicants to solve the problems, we're solving world problems that we don't know. I don't know all the problems. I just know my part in that problem. But it's still giving back to not only our local communities and giving people jobs. Everybody's happier when they have a little money in their pocket, right? And then
win-win.
It's a win-win, and then contributing to solving problems. So that's probably the passion, is not just one way, but it's like all the ways that solving one perceived problem could actually amplify fixing multiple parts in an ecosystem.
I mean, it literally is putting the puzzle piece in the puzzle. I mean, that's so fulfilling in such a nerdy way to me. And my husband will always look and he's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, it just feels so good. Just putting those pieces right there, making them connect. And you're right, when you can apply that in real life, and you can bring two people together, or you could bring a mentor into somebody's life, it's life-changing for both of them. So tell us about then how all of this led to your book, Lead, Lift, and Leave a Legacy. This is beautiful, amazing book, has come out recently. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What prompted you to write this?
Well, in my bucket list, I have always wanted to do a hardback, softback. I've been a writer in different capacities, websites, magazines, newsletters, newspapers, but I wanted to have the challenge of writing my own book. And as a military spouse, I read Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul. And those chapters were mentoring. Those chapters were very mentoring for me when I may not have had a mentor, and I thought one day it'd be great to do something like that, put that in my bucket list. Fast forward to COVID 2020, my daughter and I took a class together at WashU, and it was a certification class for the social cognitive career course. And it's sort of a neuroscience mentality of the social cognitive application to mentoring relationships, why they're important. So it takes the social sciences with the sciences and combines. And there are huge benefits to having a mentor. There's gratitude between the two relationships. You're helping someone step up in their career, giving them opportunities that they may not have had. And we took the class together. My daughter said in one of our class sessions that her mom was her mentor. Oh. And I just was very moved. And I thought, I didn't pay her to say that, but I had to take a pause because our kids are watching us, right? And everything we do is important. So it was very important for me to hear her say that and understand what is my next
full circle moment.
But now what do I do with that?
Right.
What do I do with that? And when we finished the class, I loved the class. I wanted to learn more. The neuroscience behind how we think and what we do is very intriguing for me. And they said, Rachel, that's great. We're glad you're interested in the class. We think you should teach the next class.
Oh, well, I was going to say, how does a class like that even evolve? But now I see how it continues.
Yes.
Pull people like you and have you continue teaching them. So did you teach it?
Teaching the class. I was an adjunct professor, moved into a bucket list role, was an adjunct professor for the class with another woman, and she was a Berkeley professor, and so we worked together. And I really enjoyed the students, but I learned in that class that we have some problems we need to fix, which is the evolution beyond COVID and getting students to connect with mentors. The whole online piece is okay, it's fine, but we really need this interaction.
Right.
I eyeball to eyeball talking, seeing each other's facial expressions, and then having downtime with individuals to think about, hey, what's this person passionate about? Who do I know to move them into that career field? How do I help them? And that was the moving part for me, was being able to see we have a problem, an epidemic. This book was an international bestseller in 6 countries.
Congratulations.
Which, thank you, which meant that globally, this book shining a light on different mentors, and 32 women shared their story about mentoring and who the mentors were in their life that made a significant difference for them. This was something that I guess the world needed.
Right.
And it could make a huge difference.
To be reminded of what a mentor is, how to be a mentor, and recognizing, I think, the mentors that you do have that you didn't even, like you said with your track coach, you don't think about it as a teenager.
No.
But then looking back when those little things are spinning around in your head or you're hearing them talk in the back of your mind and you're thinking, oh, that kind of influenced me a little bit.
Yes, sometimes it'll slap you, like catch you off guard, and you're thinking that's where all of this came from. Yeah. And then sometimes and it's an incredible experience to be a mentee, be a mentor. You can help others, and so I thought, right now we've had depressions pretty high in America. Yeah. It's high globally, and I thought, well, if I can't be out there and mentor everyone, because mentoring can be exhausting too. If you have a long list of mentors, and that's time you're giving. What is one great, quick way to make an impact and help others in the quiet moments of your day?
You can read a book.
Read a book. And learn about 32 other women out there who have had challenges, struggles, loss.
Well, and it's very similar to why we do this podcast, is sharing those stories. We can identify with some aspect of almost everybody's story. And whether we're focusing on transitions or we're focusing on mentorship relationships and the validity of having that in your life, we can always pull little nuggets out and again, stick those in your back pocket and keep those with you. I mean, it's so great to shine a light on this and remind people to put forth some effort to finding those key mentor relationships, because those are so significant in helping you through those transitions. Yes. Whether it's the friendships when a military spouse is being moved from city to city and country to country, or it's a high school track coach, or it's a boss in at a new job. I mean, they're everywhere, right?
Well, there's one story I can tell you. that actually has, with us hitting 4th of July and 250 years of America, we can revert back to a little bit of a military experience, but there are different types of mentors. You're reminding me there are different types of mentors. You have a silent mentor, you have a peer mentor, you have the basic mentor, which is someone in your organization possibly who's going to take on a role with you that's very professional. And there's lots of other types of mentors. Those are just a few. But I'd like to talk about one of my silent mentors that became a real mentor.
Yeah. Start with what a silent mentor is.
A silent mentor is someone that you admire, that you've never met, but you think, in your mind is thinking, oh, they're remarkable. Oh, I like them. Something about them you want to emulate, and you're sort of role modeling from them. You're using them as a role model, but you haven't met them.
Okay.
And so while my husband was deployed, my sister actually introduced me to Build-A-Bear, the concept of Build-A-Bear. And I took my husband on a date to the St. Louis Galleria Build-A-Bear. And I said, we're going to build bears for our kids and put your voice in each bear. So when you deploy this next time, because remember, it's a global war on terrorism, they have your voice. They have a piece of you that's theirs. Right?
Right.
Well,
great idea.
Great idea for me to do that. But I was also saying, thank you. Great idea. Whoever invented this.
Right.
Who is that person that invented this? What an amazing person. I thought it was a man. And when I did some research, it was not. It was
not.
Maxine Clark, who lives here in St. Louis.
Right.
And Build-A-Bear was founded right here. So in my home in Georgia, I did some research on her, and I thought, she's doing all this at 48.
Right. She didn't start it till 48. I think
Transitioning at 48. And I thought at moments I might be missing out on some of my professional career. And I'm like, no, I won't be missing out. I can start over later. I can reinvent later whenever that path might come my way. So did some research on her, admired her, was very grateful. At nighttime, the kids would all do their little brush their teeth, read the story, and you can hear them, the bears chiming off in harmony. And my husband's around the house on the second floor.
You're like, he's here. He's here somewhere.
Definitely here. And so it was a nice little bedtime transition tool for the kids and for me.
Yes.
So I had always wanted to meet her. And once we came back to St. Louis, I had opportunities to kind of rub elbows in different spaces and places. And then finally I had some one-on-ones with her, and she started mentoring me, and she actually is in the book. She wrote the foreword.
That's wonderful. That's interesting you say that, because I didn't realize, and I'm not familiar with the silent mentor label, but I would consider her a silent mentor of my own, because growing up in St. Louis, we've all heard her story. We drive past downtown and see the big, huge building, and we've watched this amazing business grow.
Yep.
And as attending different events, I've seen her speak at a couple different events, and I like you, am absolutely in awe of what she has done and the stage of her life in which she did it. And it's always sticks in the back of my mind, like you said, that if we have to put something on hold for a hot minute, that's okay, because it's not ever too late to start something, not ever too late to start something hugely impactful, or to continue whatever you're doing. Look at Mary Engelbright, again from St. Louis, and I was just at a function with her and chatting with her, and she, not only is she still writing, but she's still autographing, and she's still visiting, and we went to the same high school, and so she still wants to talk about high school, and so she's still taken her gifts and continued with them. I mean, we've got some amazing women leaders here in St. Louis that are so inspirational about whether it's continuing something you're passionate about your whole life, whether it's starting something new, whether sometimes it's just keeping your eyes open and finding an opportunity out there that maybe otherwise you would have missed if you hadn't paid attention.
Yeah, exactly. I call it, there's no expiration date on your goals or your gifts.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Right.
And so,
right.
It just kind of don't forget them, like put them in your bucket list. And sometimes you're going to be pulling them out at weird times. Right. I tried to go back to school and get my master's in education in my early 20s. I didn't do it until my 40s. I had to wait 25 years. So another
But you did it.
But I did it. I still did it. Thankfully, I had a great experience at WashU at the Executive MBA program, and that was a focus on being an entrepreneur for me. So that was marketing.
That was the catalyst there.
It was a transition tool for me to become civilians, as you were saying. That was a great space. My husband and I went to the Executive MBA program together in the same class.
Who knew you'd go back to school together?
I know. It was like college all over. It was the first time I'd seen him in 10 years.
Right.
But it was a fun time. It was a great opportunity for us, and it really helped give me that plan and roadmap. And also some professors were awesome, helping me bounce ideas off of. Still at Post, I'm still great friends with a couple of professors now.
Oh, nice.
Even though I've graduated 6 years now, 7. So
They probably love, though, working with an adult who brings a different perspective and some history to whatever it is that you're working on, different than somebody who's just fresh out of college and just working on their master's. So again, you probably had the opportunity to mentor other students who maybe hadn't seen things the way you had.
Yeah, true. I've been called back to be a public speaker or a keynote speaker a couple times for WashU. So it's full circle.
Good for you. Right. Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought?
You've shared a quote, nothing can dim the light that shines within. And that's from Maya Angelou. How has that quote stuck with you or impacted you?
And that goes back to that transition in 2020 for most of, I think, our youth, letting them know that they have a light within themselves and don't let anything put it out.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many ways, there's so many wonderful things that we can do in our lives and so many positive paths.
Right.
So don't let anything diminish that light. Find positive people in your life. And if you're having a struggle finding positive people, get a book.
A book's a great idea. And nowadays, whether you're listening to a podcast or you're listening to an audio book, there are so many great stories to learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. And just never give up. Be determined and keep living in your gifts.
Did you ever feel like giving up in any of these transitions or feel uncertain, anxious?
Yeah, I would say there were times of uncertainty. I think that is naturally a response for almost everyone. But we talked about that messy middle kind of piece, and I never felt like I had time to be in the messy middle, right? When my husband went to deploy, I gave myself one day to be super angry and then get over it, because you don't have time to sit and wallow in self-pity. You have a family to raise, you have responsibility, and so I had expectations of myself to live up to the needs of my family.
Right. I love that, though, kind of setting rules for yourself, that this is what I'm going to allow myself because it's natural and it's normal, and I can be upset, but I have to move forward. One thing, you mentioned the messy middle, so those who follow the podcast know I'm a huge fan of Bruce Feiler, and when he talks about the different stages of a transition and how we have that long goodbye, but then you've got that messy middle and a new beginning. And what I love about you, Rachel, is that every transition you seem to have approached with enthusiasm about the new beginning. And that long goodbye was a very quick goodbye. And like you said, I just want to push through that middle and get on to the new beginning and kind of embrace that with excitement and enthusiasm. And I think that is so inspirational to me of, why do I want to sit here and wallow in woe is me and self-pity? I always look at something and I'm like, that just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be angry with someone. It doesn't feel good to feel sorry for yourself. It doesn't feel good to focus on the negativity. So why do I want to sit in that space? And if I can just look forward and look at what's around, all that other stuff falls in the past so quickly.
Exactly.
So quickly. So
I agree. And it's an adventure. Your life is an adventure, and we're only here for a short time.
Right.
I've always known that. My grandmother died very young, and I thought, well, that was fast, right? And I thought, will I make it past her? Right. And I thought, well, I better get busy. Get busy living,
I got
right?
stuff to do.
I have things to do. I have adventures. I've got this bucket list here. I have a long roadmap of things I want to accomplish. And so if I don't start doing this
And spinning all those plates at the same time.
it's going to pass me by.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, any parting advice for any of us? I think that you just said was wonderful advice. Anything else that we want to share with the listeners?
Yes, I think set that expectation of how long you're going to wallow, right? Not long, just little, because we have emotions.
Right.
Just have a positive mental attitude. And I know that's tough, but surround yourself with positive people. Take care of yourself, right?
Yeah,
I think we've
that
talked a
physical,
little bit
mental
about that. I
coordination.
just came off of being sick not too long ago, and I forgot what it feels like to not feel good. It's not motivating. There's lots of negativity when you're not feeling good, like if you're sick, physically
Right.
sick. So I had to will myself into situations like, I'm going to have my morning sunshine. I'm going to get my 10 minutes of sunshine in the morning. I'm going to not have my coffee first. I'm going to drink my water. So all these little things really helped with my mindset to be positive. I sit down with scripture in the morning and do some readings, and so that gets me in a positive place as well. But just take care of yourself, surround yourself with great people, surround yourself with yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Sometimes we just need to be alone to hear our own thoughts, and
get reacquainted with yourself.
and just keep dreaming, set your goals, be adventurous, and
That's great.
persevere.
Well, I appreciate it, Rachel. It's been wonderful having you on the show, and I
Thank
love
you.
all the great advice with respect to so many of the transitions that you've been through. You know, here on her next chapter, we focus on life's transitions and how to help guide and plan and prepare for, but most importantly, thrive through your next transition. This is Karen Maurer. I will see you next time.